Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden and welcome to my June back garden tour. If you all didn't get a chance to see my June front garden tour, I will leave a link to that video in the description down below. The garden is looking so pretty. It's looking so pretty in the front and it's looking so pretty in the back. Everything is starting to grow in, everything's getting nice and full and almost a little bit wild, which is it's kind of how I like it. I like it when things look like they're bursting at the seams and they just can't wait to bloom even more with the summer heat. And so really we are getting into summer here in Northern California. It feels like summer. It's starting to get warm. I love it. I am completely enjoying myself. I know my family is enjoying themselves. My girls are now officially on summer vacation and we're having a great time. So let me flip the camera around and I will give you all a tour of my back garden. So I have to get started over here. I've been so excited to show you all my 3 big white pots this month. And I think you all can guess why I've been excited to show you all. That is because of the Suburban pink cashmere. Look at this plant. It is so gorgeous. It is so beautiful. And I have to admit, I didn't even fertilize last week. Normally I fertilize on a weekly basis. I didn't fertilize last week because like I said, my girls got out of school. We had a very busy week last week. And so I didn't get around to it. So I can see, it's not as many blooms as it has been this past month, but this is what it looks like without fertilizing for 2 weeks, which is fantastic. So I truly think if Proven Winners made a Suburban Vista, so they have Supertunia Vistas, like Supertunia Vista Jazzberry, and the Vista series are known for being extremely vigorous and growing a ton. That's how a Supertunia gets the name Vista, for being the most vigorous. I think Suburban pink cashmere should be awarded with the name Vista. They should make a Suburban Vista. This one and Suburban whiteout, I think both of those could be Suburban Vistas for sure. Now, I do have to say that Suburban pink cashmere is a 2024 release, so it is not available in garden centers this year, but put this on your shopping list for next year. In September, October, go tell your local garden centers that you want them to order this plant because you are going to love it. You are not going to regret it. It is so beautiful. Now, underneath here, underneath here is Supertunia Lovey-Dovey. It's beautiful. It's sweet. It's so pretty. This beautiful pink star on the Supertunia. It's really pretty, but it's almost like these pots, I didn't need it. I didn't need to put anything else in here. These should have been mono pots, but I didn't know. I was trialing pink cashmere. And I mean, doesn't this almost look like hydrangeas? A little bit smaller than hydrangeas, but for a full sun, this is south facing, full sun, super hot. What a fantastic alternative to a pink hydrangea, in warm weather climates. I just love this plant so much. Then the third plant that I put in these pots, this is Luscious Lantana Royal Cosmo or Royale Cosmo. Beautiful, pretty lantana. I think that as it gets hotter, it's going to start, growing a little bit faster, but the Suburban pink cashmere is just kind of taking everything over. And I am completely fine with it because I think it's so pretty. Coming this way, you can see my Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. I was showing you all this here. It's in between my Bobo hydrangeas. These are panicle hydrangeas. You can see they're starting to bud up, and I'm really excited to see how these do this year. Last year, that was the first year that I put them in here. My oak tree up here was a little bit more overgrown, so it protected these with a little bit more shade. It had a little bit more shade, but then my neighbor and I had this oak tree prune back, and I told them to prune back the oak tree so that I had more sun over here, not thinking about my poor Bobos. And so they did scorch a little bit last year, and I'm interested to see how they'll do this year. Their second year in the ground, they have more of a root system, and I'm hoping they'll be able to handle the afternoon sun a little bit more. Panicle hydrangeas can handle the afternoon sun a little bit more. So I surrounded underneath the Bobos. I have 1, 2, 3 Bobos right there. Surrounded those with Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. Those all are going, you can see this has obviously more sun. This has obviously more shade. So they're picking up speed, but I love the color nonetheless. I think it's really, really pretty. I did want to point out my berry barrels. This poor berry barrel. I don't know what's wrong with it. It's done. It's done. There's irrigation issues. I've tried fixing them. All my strawberries are dead. I think my blueberry is dead too. So just major irrigation issues. I have a feeling it's like deep down underneath there. I bet it got pinched or something like that. So I'm going to have to replace that. But this berry barrel is looking fantastic. I have had 1 strawberry this whole season, and that is not because these Seascape strawberries are not performing well. It's just that my dog, my senior dog Stanley, has been stealing all my strawberries. He has found them this year, and that's fine. He's such an old man. He's 15 years old. He deserves the strawberries. So he can have all the strawberries he wants. I'm kind of letting him go for them. But I did want to say Seascape strawberries are fantastic. They're so delicious. They taste so good. I'm going to have to replant these next year in a higher place so that he doesn't get to them, so that my family and I can enjoy some Seascape strawberries. But I just wanted to show you all, you know, these are doing fantastic. Really, really wonderful. Okay, coming this way, you can see we have a little bit of debris from the oak tree. Also, the pool is quite messy. We had wind last night. Not a ton of wind, but enough that it kind of made a mess of the garden. I tried cleaning it up a little bit before this garden tour, but I really wanted to film this garden tour before the sun got too high in the sky, because then you guys just can't see with the bright sun. You can't see as well. So my Elegantissima Dogwood is looking beautiful. I love this time of year. I just love these leaves so much. I did a garden tour at my master gardener friend Ellen's house. I'll link that one down below as well. She has a variegated hydrangea, and the leaves look identical to the leaves of my Elegantissima Dogwood. So I think I'm going to be on the lookout for a variegated hydrangea, because I just love these leaves so much. I just think that they're so pretty, and I would love to have another plant that had the look of these leaves. I just love it. All right, over here by my bench, it's looking pretty good. I have my Mystic Spires Blue Salvia, my 2 Iceberg Rose Standards that I did cut back, and they're starting to flush out again, which is very exciting. But I think we can all see what is the star of the show right now, and that is this hydrangea back here. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. So this is in a pot. This came from my neighbor right here. His mother lives a couple houses, or excuse me, used to live a couple houses down the street. She was an avid gardener. She was wonderful. She passed away, unfortunately, and she had all these plants in her backyard, a lot of them in pots. And so they gave a lot of those plants to me because they just, they felt like they couldn't keep everything going. And so I had planned to transplant this hydrangea into the ground back here, but look at how happy it is. Look at how happy. And I think I'm just gonna leave it, because I don't think I've ever had a hydrangea bloom this well. It's obviously a fantastic place to it. I do have it hooked up to drip. I have it on 2 gallon per hour emitters, and it runs every day. I think it's getting enough water, but it's just looking beautiful. And I did not prune this one back. I don't know the name of it. I don't know anything about it, but it is so pretty. The color is incredible. It is so bright, and it makes me think that this area back here, which I call my shade garden bed, you can see it's not all shade. There is some sun to it, but it needs bright color like that. So contrast that to these apricot foxgloves. They're this apricot color that's very pretty, right? They're very pretty, but they just don't pop in this spot. I'm gonna have to move them, or I might even just toss them, because they'll probably have maybe 1 year left. Maybe I'll just leave them here for next year just to see how they do. But it's just not the right color for this area. I've told you all that. It almost looks like the leaves that have dropped from the oak tree, the dead leaves. It almost looks like those on here. So I think having a nice, bright, jewel tone color is the way to go back here. Then I did want to point out my 3 Fatshederas. A Fatshedera is a mix between English ivy and a Fatsia japonica. It is the most interesting plant. It's a relatively new plant, and my plan for this is to trellis them, espalier them here on the fence back here, right? I thought it would be really pretty, and again, the variegated leaves I think would bring some brightness back here. So I just wanted to show you how they're growing. They've grown like here. This is all new growth from here up, so maybe about a foot this year, which is pretty good. They do not grow as fast as English ivy do, and that's a spider webs on it. That is one of the selling points of this plant. It does not grow as fast as English ivy, and it doesn't have those little suckers or little arms that grab onto everything, but it still kind of has the shape and look of an English ivy, and it will still vine kind of like an English ivy. So I'm gonna have to put wire up here on this fence, and I'm actually gonna have to lash it to the wire as opposed to English ivy that will stick to anything basically. But I just wanted to show you all how the not Fatsia japonica, the Fatshedera is doing. It's looking really good. So that is a brand new plant. You know, I don't know how many years it is, but I've had my eye on it, wanting to try it, and I'm really excited to kind of watch and just see how it does, because it is so new. Over here in my 3 white pots, I get a lot of questions of where I get these pots. These pots are MPG planters. I bought mine from Home Depot online. They're fiberglass. They're not concrete, but they look like concrete. I love them. This is in the antique white color. I love them, but they're so hard to find. They are so hard to find. It's crazy, but I love them, and I will keep my eye out for more of them. This blue plant right here is Lobelia Blue Skies. I planted that thinking that it wouldn't survive the past spring, because usually Lobelia likes cooler temperatures. I don't know if because of the spot that I put it at, this is a north facing fence, it's been able to handle the temperatures, but it's looking really good. And I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm gonna see how it does all season long. The plant that I don't like, I already told you all a little bit about this last week, is this one. This is Helichrysum white licorice. It's just not my favorite plant. It's going crazy. It started to bloom. It's supposed to be a trailing plant, but it is definitely, look at this. It is definitely not a trailing plant for me. I took 3 of these out of pots in my front garden because it was kind of doing the same thing, and it was just kind of going crazy. Look at this. That is not a trailing plant. That is a vining plant for me. So yeah, so I thought it was gonna be a spiller, and it's not. I'll probably just cut it back to get it out of here and then see if it kind of calms down a little bit after the spring, but I'm not loving it. There is so much pollen in the air right now, you guys. Like, I feel like I'm gonna sneeze any minute. So if I keep stopping this video, it's because I'm sneezing. So just bear with me. Okay, then we have my honeysuckle. It's looking very pretty. This is an area that I worked on this month. It was very frustrating because I had my bird feeders here. The birds are of course very messy, and I had tons of weeds under here. So I took out the weeds, I replaced the mulch. It looks so much better, it looks so much cleaner. I still have to do over here on this side because I had this lamium here before. Lamium underneath here is just not the way to go. So I'm looking for a ground cover underneath these limelight hydrangeas that is going to look really pretty, but then also suppress the weeds that are going to come from under here from the bird food. So one thing I did is I went and I got different bird food. This is the no mess bird food from Wild Birds Unlimited. I don't know if the birds like it because they haven't come back yet. I haven't seen them back yet, but I'm patiently waiting just to see how they do. But when I posted that video and talked about not knowing what type of ground cover I was going to have, I want to say like 20 of you guys left comments saying, try a Juga. Juga would be really good right there. Try it. done. I'm gonna try. There was enough of you that recommended that I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get some of that and I'm gonna try it under here just to see how it does. I'm not very familiar with that plant. I don't know a lot of the different varieties, but I will look into it, and I'm hoping to plant that up sometime this upcoming month. All right, then coming over here, I have these pots. I'm embarrassed to say I still haven't hooked these up to drip. I swear, there's just sometimes I'm just being lazy. There's no excuse for it. So this is Proven Winners Supertunia Mini Vista Ultramarine. Beautiful. This is Solinia Apricot. Look at that one. I just love that combination right there. This is Supertunia Mini Vista Sweet Sangria. This is Color Blaze Cherry Drop Coleus, excuse me. So very pretty. And then there's Safari Dusk right there. And the Safari Dusk was a mistake to plant in this planter because I needed something with a little bit more height to rise above the Sweet Sangria. But I love these planters. These are more of the jewel tones that I think would look really pretty over in that shade garden bed area. Those are the kind of jewel tones I'm going for. So I've been hand watering these. I think the reason why I haven't rushed to hook these up to drip and, thinking about, oh, I got to do that right away. It's not really been urgent, is because I have all of these guys right here that I'm having to hand water. These are a bunch of plants that Spring Meadow, Proven Winners Spring Meadow sent to me. I'm really excited to get these in the ground. I will show you all of them once I get them in the ground. This one, whew, I'm so excited to show you all. This is called Estrelita Little Star. There was another bloom. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's so many bloom heads or buds about to open, and it's this gorgeous coral color. And there was one on when they sent the plant to me, and it was just such the prettiest color. I cannot wait to get that in my garden. And then compare that with the At Last Rose right here, which we all know and love, and it's just beautiful. And then the other one, where is it? Where's the other one? No, this one. I'm sorry. What am I thinking? This one is called Flavorette. Yeah, Rosa Flavorette Honey Apricot. Okay, let me show you a picture of what the roses looks like, which is very pretty. But the most interesting thing to me, I know all roses are edible, but this one is supposed to actually taste really, really good. So I have 2 buds on here. I don't know what I'm gonna make with the roses. I'm gonna see what I don't know if I'm gonna make like a tea or maybe like an iced tea or something like that. But I gotta get this in the ground so that hopefully it can bloom this year for me so that I can taste this Flavorette Honey Apricot rose. So anyway, I have been hand watering these, just waiting until I can get them in the ground. And that's why I haven't been super, on top of it with hooking these up to drip. Again, I'm just being lazy. I'm telling you all that so that I can shame myself into doing it this week. And then the most beautiful things in my back garden right now are these 2 pots here. These are, well, not two groupings of pots is what I should say. These are my 5 white pots. I know you can't tell. There's 3 pots there and there's 2 pots there. I have a couple different plants in them. First off, I have the Toucan Coral Canna. This is the first time for me growing Canna, and I love it. I think they're so pretty. They send up these bloom stalks, and it's so exciting just to see them start to bloom. It feels summery. It feels tropical. I know Cannas do so well in my area, and I honestly don't know what took me so long. Right behind that is I have Sweet Caroline Upside Key Lime. Sweet Caroline Upside Key Lime, and you can see it is growing up. It is so exciting. It is a really interesting Ipomoea or sweet potato vine that will climb up things. So I put this twine here on my pergola, and you can see it's starting to climb, and it makes the most interesting thriller. Like I guess I'm gonna call it a thriller. I don't know. It will also trail down. You can see down here it kind of trails down a little bit, but just the fact that it climbs up, you can see over here on this one, I just find it so interesting. It's such a cool plant. Then we have Supertunia Persimmon. This is another one, just like the Superbena Pink Cashmere. This is not a Supertunia Vista. They're calling this just a regular Supertunia. I don't agree with that. I think it should be a Vista. Look at this. Look at this, you guys. I mean, it's just crazy. It's so big. It's so pretty. It's the prettiest plant. This poor Color Blaze Mini-Me watermelon underneath here, it's very pretty in its own, but it's just getting taken over by this Supertunia persimmon. And Jason keeps telling me that I need to cut this back to let the other plants breathe and grow. And I just don't want to. I just love it. I think it looks so pretty right here like this. All right, then you can see our sitting area. We have used this new fire pit so much this season. I am enjoying it so much. It's so wonderful. We find ourselves out here with a little blanket sitting by the fire. It's just wonderful. Right behind here, these are my 2 pollinator stock tanks. Most of these plants that I have in here are pollinator plants. They're really beautiful. I had this red velvet monarda. It's about done. I got to cut it back now, but let me show you a clip of a bee that was just loving its life on the bee balm. That's monardas, also called bee balm. And then I have this stuff right here. This is meant to be Queen Nectarine Agastache, and it's so pretty. Again, it's another one that's about done. It's about done with its flush. It's that time of year that I need to cut back most of my perennials, but if I stand back, you can't really tell that I need to cut that plant back yet. You just can't really tell, and that's because the calyx of the blooms are very pretty. They're this pretty mauve-y color. So if you stand back, I mean, I could honestly just leave it right there and not even worry about it. So I love that plant. I want more of that plant for sure. More Mystic Spires Blue Salvia, which is a pollinator magnet. I can see a bee happy as a clam. You guys see that right there? They're always on here, absolutely always on here. And then I of course have my showy milkweed right here. I have not seen any monarch butterflies. I know this is not enough milkweed, but I have such a hard time with milkweed, you guys. It's just a tough plant for me. It's just a really tough plant for me to grow. So I'm really proud of this one. I don't know. I'll have to say, I think I did like 72 of them last year, and this is the only one that really did well. I have 2 more right here. These are narrow leaf milkweeds. This one right here and this one right here. So I'm just letting those grow. They're obviously babies. This whole stock tank looks like it needs to be watered. Maybe it's because it was really windy yesterday. Anyway, here is my grape that I neglected, and it's obviously happy as can be. I have grapes coming right there. Let me see what variety this is. I never remember. This was Zestful Golden Chalice Grape. It's supposed to taste really good, so hopefully we'll get to try those grapes this season. Okay, and then one more pot I want to show you all. This is the pot that I made when I did my Proven Winners presentation at Wind Tour Gardens. I will link that video down below. It was so much fun, and I potted up this planter, and it just looks so good. So back here is a Rockin' Fuchsia Salvia. It is such a fantastic plant. I have a bunch of them in my front garden, and they just do so well for me here in Zone 9B. Underneath here, this is Supertunia Daybreak Charm, and I just wanted to show you all the comparison of this plant to the Supertunia persimmon. They're very similar looking, but the Supertunia persimmon is a lot warmer in color. This is Supertunia persimmon. This is Daybreak Charm. So depending on what type of colors you have in your garden, whether you like the warmer colors or whether you like the cooler colors, that's a good option. Just know that the Daybreak Charm is nowhere near as vigorous as the Supertunia persimmon, but these both have that yellow throat. I love them. They're so pretty, but that's kind of some good comparison depending, to help you all decide on the color that you want. Let me bring you all over to my vegetable garden before I go around the side of my house. Okay, so I cleaned out my water fountain the other day, and then just this morning, you guys, something is wrong with the motor. It's just making this weird noise. I have to troubleshoot it, but again, I wanted to get this video done before the sun got too high in the sky. I was cleaning the motor out. It did have some algae on it. Maybe that's what's going on. It's less than a year old. I just hope it wasn't a bad pump. So that is why it's not on right now. Right underneath there, you can see I have my tree dahlia that's looking so good. I'm so excited about this. It's growing. It's looking fantastic. It's right next to one of my purple hyacinth beans right here. And then here's my other purple hyacinth bean that is just going crazy. It's so funny because we watch it and like tonight or today it will be here, right? And then tomorrow we'll come out and look at it and it'll be twined all the way around and have grown to here. That's how fast this purple hyacinth bean is growing this time of year. I love this plant. You can see the flowers right here. They're just wonderful. My giant yellow marigolds, yes, these are called giant yellow marigolds. They're starting to grow. I grew these from seed. I think they'll get bigger as time goes on, and they're just kind of mixed in with my veggie garden. I do have my bush baby zucchini. I have been harvesting off of that. You can see how much smaller this zucchini is compared to other normal zucchinis. Just the size of the plant. The zucchinis are pretty much the same size, maybe a little bit smaller. Here's a baby one. So you have to think a regular zucchini plant gets about 4 feet wide. This bush baby zucchini will only get about 2 feet wide, which is fantastic because I obviously don't have a lot of room here in this garden bed. And I did want to show you all these leaves. You can see this kind of white stuff on these leaves right here. And I just wanted to point this out because you would look at that and you would think, oh, powdery mildew. That kind of looks like powdery mildew, right? It's not powdery mildew. It is just sunburn, I guess is what you call it. It's just the leaves getting kind of scorched by sun. So when you're looking at the leaves of your squash plants or anything like that, just remember that they do get a little sunburnt sometime. And if they're in a really hot area, you might be dealing with a little bit of that. It doesn't affect the plant or anything. It's just something to watch. Doesn't mean that they don't get powdery mildew, but that's not what these are. And then over here, I have my 2 tomatoes. First, I have my Sungold cherry tomato. It's delicious. The tomatoes never make it inside because we all eat them. They're so good. And then this right here, I haven't gotten any tomatoes off of it yet. This is a Bellini tomato from Proven Winners. These are the yummiest tomatoes. And I think I planted it a little too close to the wall right here because I think it's getting a little too much shade, but it's growing, it's doing well, and I'll just have to be patient and wait for the Bellinis to come. Yum, those Sungolds are so good. All right, here's another plant that I have that's new for this month. This is my very first Japanese maple. This is from my friend Steph from Hooked and Rooted. We did a little bit of a plant swap, and this, man, she picked a good one for me. This is called an Arium, Japanese maple Arium. And it's kind of like, I think she called it full moon leaves. You can see those, the most interesting leaves. They're so very interesting. I'm so happy with this plant. I think it is so pretty. I decided to put it in this terracotta pot so it had some breathing room. I could change, I could move the spot if I needed to, give it a little bit more shade. I think it's okay. I don't know. I'll have to kind of wait and see and make sure that the amount of shade is okay for it. It looks okay for right now. The one thing I did do, I changed the emitter on it. I had put a 1 gallon per hour emitter on it, but then I had seen a lot of water coming out the bottom every time it got watered. So I changed it to a 1/2 gallon per hour, and now it's much better. That is a much better amount for this pot, and that's something that you just have to do for your irrigation, for your emitters. It's a trial and error. I tried the 1 gallon per hour black emitter. It was too much. I put the blue one on, which is a 1/2 gallon per hour, and that was perfect. Then coming over to my side yard, first I have my wall of supertunias. So these are pockets that I got off of Amazon. I will definitely link them down below. And for those of you who ask, if check my Amazon store, because I usually have most of the stuff linked in my Amazon store. But basically there are these planting pockets, and it's used for vertical gardening to kind of save space. So for those of us who don't have a lot of garden space and we want to add more and more and more plants into our garden, we have to remember vertical, right? And you get like, how pretty is this? How beautiful beautiful is this? And these are 3 plant pockets. And then I planted Supertunia Vista Bubblegum. That's this light pink one. Supertunia Vista Jazzberry, this kind of fuchsia purpley one. And then Supertunia Snowdrift right here, the white one. And the combination is so pretty. It is so pretty. For the last day of school, my girls took their last day of school pictures in front of this. It was so, so pretty. And then just off to the side, kind of covering my air conditioner, trying to cover my air conditioner. This is my Rose of Sharon Blue Chiffon from Proven Winners. There are a bunch of buds, which I'm really excited about. I really, really like this plant. It's probably going to be too big for this area eventually. I think I'm going to have to get one of those. They have a new, after I planted this one, they came out with a new variety called, I want to call it the Pillar or something like that. And it's supposed to be a lot more narrow. I think I'm going to have to replace this one with one of those Pillar varieties, because this one, I actually have it lashed to, can you see the stake back there? Just to keep it up and tight and to keep it out of the walkway. But I really like having a Rose of Sharon right here. I think it's really pretty. It blooms for such a long time during the season, and I just love it. So I'll have to keep my eye out for one of those Pillar ones where it's a little bit more narrow. Then coming this way in my side yard, I did want to point out down here, I do have my Supertunia Bordeaux, and then I repeated that in my window box right here. And this window box, it's looking so good. It is looking so pretty. Please excuse my garbage cans, but this window box is just looking gorgeous. It needs to be fertilized. I can tell it needs to be fertilized. You can kind of tell they need to be fertilized because, I mean, you can tell when the leaves turn a little bit yellow. My leaves haven't turned yellow yet because I just missed one fertilizing. But when you start seeing more green in between the flowers, that's when you know, like, okay, I need to fertilize. It's going to be much happier because the flowers will get a lot more dense when you stay on top of fertilizing. So just missing that one fertilizing last week, I can already kind of see a difference. It still looks absolutely beautiful. And then I have my Sweet Caroline lime green sweet potato vine. I always struggle saying the names of the sweet potato vines. These guys are getting pretty long. I am going to cut them back this week along with all the other stuff I have to prune. But it's going to be so easy. I just got to kind of go like that. But I love the pop of chartreuse with the Supertunia Bordeaux. Now, coming down here, I have Supertunia Priscilla, which is another purple one that's very pretty. And then I planted Cake Pops Verbena, Cake Pops Pink Verbena. And when I first planted it, I was kind of iffy about the plant. I thought, well, it's not really happy here. Well, it doesn't really like it. It is coming into its own. I think as it's getting hotter, it must be one of those plants that just like the heat, because as it's getting hotter, I'm getting more and more blooms, and it's looking really, really good. So I'm excited to see how it does as we really get into the heat of the summer in July and August and September. I bet these Cake Pops Pink. Excuse me. I bet they're going to do fantastic, and I'm excited to see them. Finally, over here, closer to my beautiful honeysuckle arch. This turned out so well. Down here, I have Apple Blossom Begonia. Isn't that beautiful? This is a new one for 2024, but again, put this one on your list. Now, I planted it wrong because when I was looking at the recommendations from Proven Winners after I planted these in the ground, they said that these do better in containers, window boxes, hanging baskets, something where it can kind of hang because you can see the flowers kind of tilt down a little bit. But I think they even look pretty down here like this. I think that they are so pretty. I think that this is going to be a really, really good option for a begonia. And you all know how much I am loving the begonias this year. And right in front of that, I just planted more of the Supertunia Priscilla. Oh, look at that one. That's so funny. That one doesn't have the double. Normally they have a double like that, but that one is a mutation. Interesting. Anyway, so it looks really pretty there. I wish I planted more all the way down here, but that is okay. All right, and that is it for my June back garden tour. I hope you all enjoyed this. I hope you got some inspiration for some pretty flowers or plants that you can put into your own garden. I am so happy with how everything looks. It's blooming well. It smells amazing. The honeysuckle is about done, but it still smells so good, and I think it's because of the heat. You know, the heat is warming everything up. I just love it. So I still have my to-do list. Gardening is never done. There's always something I need to do, and I think that that's why I love it, because I know I can always come out here and find something to do and to focus on and to get my mind on just that one thing, pruning back that plant or fertilizing these flowers. I think it's just why I love gardening so much. So I hope all of your gardens are looking beautiful these days. I hope they're loving the heat or the rain or whatever type of weather you have in your area. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.